Hey, I'm Morgan, and I have a new show at VSOP Projects in Greenport, New York.
I met the artist Morgan Hobbs at the McCleaf Gallery, and when she mentioned that she was having a show, I offered to make a movie for her. We PAFA grads need to stick together.
This is my first solo show with VSOP Projects, where I'm currently represented. About 2.5 years of work.
How did you come up with the name for the show?
Bell the Cat is a phrase that means to attempt an impossibly difficult task. A group of mice have hatched a plan to put a bell around the cat's neck so that they can hear the cat coming. They're asking each other who is going to bell the cat.
Cats appear in a number of your works. Are you a cat owner?
I have 2 cats, an orange cat named Robert and a black and white cat named Casey. But I'm not trying to paint any specific cat that I know.
Can you talk about the subject matter in your work and the underlying ideas?
I'm really excited by paintings of everyday objects and paintings of loaded symbols coexisting in the same spaces and even sometimes on the same walls. My older paintings focus on personal narratives and imagery from my daily life. But over the last couple years, I've become interested in cultural issues more broadly. Around 2016, I began painting and sculpting some of the architectural motifs that can be found on buildings around Philadelphia. Flowers, crosses, arches, textures and patterns, often carved into marble, granite, and limestone. I began to reflect on these styles and motifs and their corresponding architectural traditions. For example, Philadelphia's City Hall is actually made in the Napoleonic style. I started to wonder why the birthplace of American independence and representative democracy eventually started to emulate the grandeur of European cities under their respective monarchies. This initial plunge into the cultural and even political realm was followed by a return to the domestic: cats, flowers, and interior scenes. And as I moved back and forth between subject matter, I started to unpack how the political becomes personal and vice versa. Night Shade was the first attempt painting the cross motif into an interior scene. So I could see my next series of paintings.
What do you hope viewers will take away from the experience of seeing your work?
Most of my work isn't exactly what it seems to be on the surface. So maybe a more sensitive viewer can dig past the initial nameable subject and begin to question the form a little more deeply. An easy example of this is Plant Dark Bouquet. This painting looks both like a bouquet sitting on a patterned tablecloth and a skull that's chattering its teeth. I'm happy with it being both things at once. I don't really consider the paintings and sculptures to answer questions or make any clear statements. They are more just a set of ideas being set into motion to be interpreted in an open-ended way. In the end, these paintings have some humor mixed with the more serious subjects.
What about the level of simple visual enjoyment?
I'm totally okay with a viewer simply liking a painting because it's colorful or because they like the subject matter. Maybe they like cats.
As a longtime YouTuber, I can assure you that people will love your cat paintings. What do they represent to you as an artist?
I started painting cats for multiple reasons. I love them. They have an interesting abstract form and silhouette, and they come in all varieties of colors, textures, and personalities, so that's fun. Painting a cat over and over again allows me to experiment with making paintings, pushing paint around, and just trying things out. On the other hand, I get the idea that they understand a lot more than they're able to let on without language. My cats chirp and meow a little bit, but sometimes they're also just silent observers, little spooky witnesses of what's going on in my house. My cat paintings are mostly called Scaredy Cat because of the schoolyard taunt. Some of my painted cats might actually be scared or anxious in their paintings. I often try to make the abstracted shape of their bodies fit uncomfortably within the rectangle of the canvas. And often there's patterned and brightly colored backgrounds that start to absorb the body of the cat. Maybe in some ways I think of the cats as stand-ins for various kinds of people.
I see you're not just showing paintings.
When the director of VSOP invited me for the show, I didn't know if I was going to be making paintings or sculptures. In fact, this show contains a wide range of subject and media. Painting is definitely my first love. My work is mostly oil paint. Sometimes there's acrylic underneath the oil, or even some mixed media. I love to utilize a variety of paint applications and styles to toe the line between representation and abstraction.
Who are some of the painters that have inspired you?
I love artists like Marston Hartley, Horace Pippin, Florine Stettheimer, Gertrude Abercrombie, Philadelphia-based artists Jonathan Lyndon Chase, Katie Guggenheimer, Sarah McGinnini, and David Fertig.
I graduated from the Pennsylvania Academy in 1980, and I believe that things are much more difficult for graduating art students now than they were then, especially financially. You got your MFA from PAFA back in 2015. How has your creative life progressed since then, and how do you make ends meet?
So I came to PAFA after studying at the University of Central Missouri. I was originally interested in the traditional approach to painting that was taught there and wanted to continue my observational figure painting. But when I got to PAFA, Clint Jugla had just started the graduate program chair position. He was a challenging teacher and critic and encouraged me to try some things. I started to experiment with painting from my imagination, abstracting forms and using pattern. It was fun to paint from my imagination, and it was nice to get rid of the cost of hiring a model. The year after I graduated from grad school was the last year that they awarded an exhibition award to 3 graduate students. I was fortunate to receive that award, so I was scheduled to have a show in the museum with my classmates Nadine Beauharnois and Tony Martelak. It was called Giants in the Corner and Other Anxious Tales. This first year out of grad school was incredibly stressful. I had just started a new job in student services at PAFA and had co-founded Automat Gallery with another group of classmates. I was so busy, but somehow I was able to make some paintings and keep up with my job and help to get Automat off the ground. Since that year, 2016, I kept up my studio practice while I worked at PAFA until January of 2020. That January, I left PAFA to focus on my studio practice for a while, and I'd also planned to start a teaching position that fall. But unfortunately, the pandemic started that March, so my teaching position fell through. I ended up just working in the studio until August of 2020, when Sharon Ewing at McCleaf needed some help to organize the gallery and close it down so that she could retire. I worked with Sharon for a few months, and then Rebecca Siegel stepped forward to take over Sharon's position. Since December of 2020, I've been working as the assistant director of Gross McCleaf. I think I'm one of the only people that accidentally got a really great job in the midst of the pandemic. I feel so blessed to hold this position. I love working with all of the gallery's artists and supporting their shows.
And that is certainly a two-way street. Gross McCleaf artists are quite lucky to have a fellow artist like Morgan helping them have successful and beautiful exhibitions. You can see Morgan's show, Belle the Cat, through November 21st at VSOP Projects in Greenport, New York.